Keith, we'll move on and talk about Liverpool because we know they've just announced a new major sponsorship deal. They've signed a multi-year deal with Japan Airlines. What are your thoughts on that for them?
Well, I guess I'm surprised that they haven't had an airline contract or an airline partner for the last 5 years. As a chief executive, I'd have been, asking my commercial department, hang on, where is the airline partner contracts? That's one of the most obvious ones you'd have had. Given Liverpool's strength in Asia, it would have seemed like, a bit of a no-brainer to have had an airline partner. So I'm pleased to see them, get off the ground and get the deal done. I've no idea of the scale of it. They've kept that quiet. I don't think it's going to be that big as an airline partner. It certainly isn't a front of shirt sort of type deal. And Japan does seem to be an interesting marketplace with Japan Airlines. I thought they would have gone broader into Asia or the Middle East, but nevertheless, that's what we've got. So Japan Airlines, it's an interesting one, and I'd like to see the activation of how that's planned, and if there'll be more games, etc., played in Japan, or if there could be a Japanese signing that we don't know about that could be coming out. Who knows? That could be one of the issues. I know that the Japanese players have done particularly well in certain clubs. Celtic have had quite a few very good players over from Japan. I've been speaking to a number of people in Japanese football circles recently, and I do believe it's a big untapped market. So maybe there's something here that goes beyond just the sponsorship, that Liverpool are going to get more involved in some of the Japanese players, and there is good potential out there. So maybe there's more to it that we're not seeing.
And if you had to estimate, Keith, how much will the deal be worth for the club, given that some of their previous deals have been, multi-million pound deals with various other airlines? What would you put potentially on this price tag for Japan Airlines?
Well, I think a lot of it will be value in kind, which means there'll be tickets and other assets that they'll be able to use. I would think it would be somewhere between the 10 to 20 million pound mark, but again, without knowing what sort of level of activation, where they're going to get the position on the kit, if there is one, and what sort of levels of support the club is going to give. All these factors come into the cost of a sponsorship, and the visits from ex-players, all those sort of things, tickets for games, etc. All those things are going to be valued into one package. So I'm sure in the coming days more will come out about what the details are, but I'd have guessed it'd be somewhere between 10 and 20, and a lot of it, as I say, will be in airline tickets and different issues like that.
And Keith, we know their commercial revenue for the 22-23 financial year stood at £272.5 million, which of course was 25 million higher than the previous season. What are we expecting for the 23-24 season potentially?
No, I think Liverpool have got their act together, and I think they'll be looking at over 300 now. I think that is a good number, and getting to 300 is a great platform to kick on from there. Look, I've got a lot of friends who are Liverpool fans, and they've been complaining about they're feeling milked, is the word I would say, used by the present administration in terms of their stadium expenditure. They're feeling that things keep going up, and there isn't always the comeback in terms of service that they've been used to over the years. That's the reality, though, and that's why if we're proud to say that we're going to be reaching 300, I'm afraid somebody's going to pay for that difference to get it to 300, and that's the reality. Look, it's Fenway Sports have had a couple of run-ins with the fan groups already in terms of ticketing prices, etc. Hopefully, they've learned that lesson and they're more sensitive to it now. But it's a difficult balance in terms of getting more revenue out of the fan base. So it's got to be sponsorship driven, and they've got to be cleverer in terms of how they do the international division of sponsorship assets, and taking more sponsors in country and in different countries and giving them exclusive rights in that particular country and building up the revenue that way is going to be the key way forward for Liverpool. And of course, data marketing is going to be crucial. And I know they're making big advances on that right now.
We'll keep picking up on that. They are expected potentially to sort of announce further deals in upcoming weeks to sort of broaden the revenue streams and utilize brand strength of the club. Where do you think they could strengthen? From your point of view as a former CEO of a Premier League team, where do you think they need to pick up on to sort of utilize how global the club is?
Well, the first thing is that you've got to, and clubs have been struggling with this for many years, and I was having some very deep discussions about this with some people over this last week. How you actually monetize your international fan base is the key thing. Ever since since 2000, people have been saying, well, if we had $1 more for every fan we had overseas, we'd all be making millions and billions. And that's always been the battle. Liverpool apparently have got a as we've known for a long time, have had a big fan base in Asia, and that's sorry.
No worries. You can keep going.
Yeah. Liverpool have had a big fan base in Asia for a long time. And so the question has always been, how do you get that extra $5 or $10 out of each head of fan base in Liverpool? Only now is data becoming, thanks to the increase in use of technology, only now is it becoming possible to start to really do that. Before, the tools that we had to use were like direct mail, and that was going to be expensive and really not working very well for international markets. Now, with the advances in social media, we're starting to see ways to do that. And whether it be competitions put in place to attract fans to come in, which become like a lottery almost every year, every week, that they could win a chance, for people to come to the game at Anfield. People be paying like a lottery ticket every week to try and enter those sort of things. Now, there are different lottery laws in each country, but nevertheless, those sort of things are what will start to drive the revenue streams from those international fans. And it's how you do that through membership programs, and different key things like that are going to be the key to it. And I've been speaking to some experts in this area, and I think that's the one area that is going to be, we're going to see some big attention to and some big increases over the next couple of seasons, is how we separate, differentiate, and pay attention to those international fans, and how we create a relationship with them that allows them to invest in their fandom, if you like, and get that extra $10 to $20, if we can, per head out of them over a season. That would make a huge difference if you can actually do that. And the tools are only just becoming available. With the advance of AI and different things as well, it's now becoming real. And that's going to be the battlefront, as I see it going forward, of being clever and being smart and being quick enough to actually monetize that international fan base.
And to wrap up, Keith, looking at Liverpool's transfer targets potentially, it's been quite a quiet summer for the club so far. Do we sort of expect them to make some signings pretty quickly after the Euros potentially? Do you think Arne Slot has had any say within that? Or are the club potentially plotting other moves? Are they trying to tie down key players? Where do you stand on that front?
Well, I think they have to give Arne Slot time to settle in, have a look at the assets, and I'm sure he's been doing that. We all know there's been some change at the top level in terms of the the directors of football, etc. So look, they'll all be on the same page by now. Arne Slot will have had a baptism of fire in terms of the data of everybody they've been looking at. They'll have spent countless hours going through potential targets. They're not under a PSR issue, so June 30th doesn't mean anything to them. They will know their targets, but Slot has also got to work with the powers that be above him in terms of being able to be sure that this is the squad and the type of squad he wants to coach. But he won't have the final say, although, of course, he'll be involved in those discussions very heavily. And perhaps I would guess they wouldn't go ahead unless they had his sort of buy-in as well. But I don't expect to see much work for them until July in terms of the transfer market. I think it's right for them to get their heads together behind the scenes right now, work together to understand what sort of data, what sort of knowledge they have on the targets, make sure that those targets are all cohesive. He's got a big job to fill Klopp's shoes, and so he's got to get off with a cohesive squad and a well thought through squad, and he'll have the full support to do it. There's no doubt about it, and he seems to be approaching things in the right way. So look, it's normal to have a bedding in period with a new manager like this, and I think Liverpool's got a very well-oiled machine that he should be able to fit into quite well. I was going to say slot into quite well, but he should be able to get in there quite well. So I don't have any concerns that they'll end up with a very competitive team again next year. But you'll start to see, things changing every season. I think they're going to keep refreshing the squad. I think that's going to be part of the whole look. Klopp sort of basically kept the same sort of squad for 2 or 3 seasons when he had great success. I think we're going to start to see a lot more refreshing going on and building of the young talent through the squad. But look, they're going to be strong. They're going to be challenging again. And I think Slot will be proven to be quite a good manager.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.